Relationships are not always rainbows and butterflies. There ought to be storms, rains, and floods sometimes. No matter what, you should never give up and always stand by the other person in the relationship. If not, then there is no bonding at all. Hi, my name is Rajat and welcome to the 90s Kid. In today's video, which is going to be very extensive, we'll talk about investing in a relationship. And by a relationship, I do not mean a married relationship or a female and a male relationship of anything of that sort. We're talking about interpersonal relationship that coexists, which does not need to be defined. It could be any two individuals, a mother and a child, a father and a child, two friends, relatives, neighbors, two people living together, or somebody who are known to each other. So I would want all of you to accept what I am talking about with a very broad mind and look at the whole picture and do not just think about a married couple. So before we start, let's talk about what are the different elements in a relationship. Every healthy relationship needs something to be present for it to work. Just like how you have fuel in the car, right? The very important aspect, the first one, is communication. Everyone involved should be able to communicate their feelings, opinions, and belief in a relationship. And when communicating, it is very important that you consider the tone and the phrasing that you use. Interestingly, in today's date, texting is becoming a formal means of communication. But it does not really work that well when it comes to interpersonal relationships. It is always better to call up a person over the phone or even meet them in person and talk about what's going right, what's not going right, and when things can improve. The other aspect is drawing boundaries. Everybody in a relationship needs to have a physical, a mental, or a psychological boundary built around them. It is very important that one person does not breach the private space of the other person, because when that happens, the individual freedom of the other person whose boundaries have been breached starts to feel uncomfortable. And that's where problem starts. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. The next element that I'm going to talk about is trust. It is very important in every relationship to have trust and have confidence in each other. If you ever question your trust in the other person, ensure to talk to the other person about the feelings and tell them what can be improved to gain trust back. Very, very important. Next up, you need to be honest. Honesty is one element in a relationship which keeps it fueled. If you are dishonest to the other person in the relationship, it directly impacts your trust, also impacts your responsibility. And we'll talk about responsibility in just a bit. Next up is equality. You and the other person, which could be your friend, which could be your relative, which could be your wife, husband, child, whoever it is. We have to understand that every person desires to be appreciated. Just like you, even the other person is looking for it. At the same time, every person in a relationship needs opportunities. And that is where equality comes into the picture. Next up is responsibility. Now, there is a certain degree of responsiveness and a certain degree of responsibility every individual need to carry in their relationships. It is absolutely important, because if you are not responsible in your relationships, you will only make the other person feel unsafe, and at the same time you will see the effect of that by the other person showing more burden on themselves. For example, and I'll give you a very simple example. A husband and a wife staying in the same house. Both of them are working, and they have certain number of household chores to be done during the day. One fine evening, the husband and the wife sat down together and divided their work, saying these are the few things that the husband needs to do and these are the few things that the wife needs to do. And then you start taking responsibility of doing those tasks given to you, right? At certain point in time, let's say the husband fails to do certain things, does not make himself responsible enough to do those chores that were assigned to him. What happens at that time is the wife starts feeling the burden, because she has to do her work and at the same time she has to do what her husband has ignored doing during the course of the day. Once or twice it is okay, but over a period of time it becomes difficult. So please ensure that you take responsibility of your actions, and at the same time, if you are not able to fulfill what has been told to you, don't put the blame on your partner or your friend. Taking responsibility will help you build trust, which in turn will strengthen your relationship further. The next part of this is fun, or spending time together. Very, very important, because you should enjoy spending time with each other and you should try to enjoy each other's company, because if you don't, then there is a certain lack of chemistry between the two people. And by chemistry, I do not mean the chemistry that you see in a love relationship. It could be in a friendship also. Again, it's important that your relationship promotes your well-being, and do not diminish it. Do everything you can to keep it steady. In our next video, we'll talk about why relationships fail and what we can do to prevent it from failing. So please stay tuned and connect back with me next Friday when I release this video for you.